Booyah! Hey guys, how's it going? I am here for another TF2 Rant, the videos where I talk about literally everything and nothing at the same time. Today, I am here to talk about video game piracy and its effects on developers, publishers, and customers alike. If you didn't know what piracy is, which I'm surprised if you didn't, especially if you're a PC gamer where it's most rife and the biggest problem, it's basically where a game is mass shared among a torrent or a website or really anything for little to nothing, with no licensing or permission from the publishers or developers. It's basically one of the most illegal things you can do by buying a game. It's very illegal, like it's extremely illegal, but it doesn't really stop anybody. People still actively pirate all the time. However, there are some protocols against this, but in my opinion, they're not really that heavy. Now, before you say piracy is not a big deal, before I get into my arguments about piracy, among the Western world, especially where PCs are widely accessible, it's everywhere. PCs are so easy to pirate with, and let's be honest, it is extremely easy for anybody to pirate whatever they want on a PC. It's really easy to do so. The main difficulty, if you're wondering about this, is that video game developers, especially the smaller ones, lose out of the most money. Publishers won't lose that much in the long run over this money. They have other developers, they have other franchises, and they have their feet dipped in different games. They're not going to lose that much if they spend 2 years in a game and lose it all and lose half of it to piracy. It's not a big deal. The biggest victim of piracy are the indie developers. They lose by far the most money. One of the most popular indie games ever was Super Meat Boy. And although it made so much money, it is estimated that they could have made about a third more plus what they already made if piracy wasn't a big factor. Because Super Meat Boy is a single player game. It's very easy to pirate. The thing is, there's very good protocols against non-single player games for very simple reasons. For one thing, it's very difficult to pirate in a non-single player game because you're playing among a server. Servers can check if it's a real, genuine version of the game. For offline versions, it's a very different kind of fiasco because offline versions don't have these same protocols, and if they kept an online option, which some games have, like for example SimCity, there is a huge backlash among the PC community. Now, probably asking, apart from indie developers, what bad effect does this have? Well, the biggest bad effect, in my opinion, that PC games always come out after console games because publishers are afraid of how much money they're going to lose in the first place if everyone pirates it. For example, the GTA series came out a long time ago on consoles. Like GTA 5, it came out so long ago. Like I remember playing it ages ago when it came out, like 2014, early 2014. Despite that, the PC version came out almost a year and a half later. It took a full year and a half, despite the fact that there wasn't that much added to the game for it to be switched from PC to console as a port. Now, it does take a while to change as a port, but I believe that the main reason they did this was so they lose minimal amounts of money in the long run. Because although PC gamers are a huge portion of the market these days, they're also a huge reason for piracy. And it's very difficult to trust PC gamers as a whole if we're constantly doing this kind of thing. And before I act like I'm some great crusader who fights against piracy, I'm not. I'm not going to act like there's some great, amazing, purely good way of fighting piracy, because there really isn't. Honestly, piracy isn't that scary and evil if you compare it to all the other things that are happening in the PC community at the moment. However, it definitely is causing huge amounts of damage for the games. And I understand why people do it. I do get it. People just can't afford 60 quid for a game these days. It's just not as available. Honestly, what I'd say is that it's a very difficult thing to solve, because if they charge too much for a game, you can't really blame a person for trying to pirate a game, because they just can't afford it. And if you just try and leave it on consoles, you will get shit talked by the PC community. And if you try to leave it constantly online as one protocol against it, you will just lead to more problems in the PC community. The issue with piracy is that you really can't win either way with it, because if developers try to fight it, they usually end up in shit. If they don't, they usually end up in bigger shit. So in my opinion, the biggest losers in this entire situation are the developers, especially the indie ones. So, for that reason, I am of the firm belief that if you are thinking of pirating a small game, like a 15 quid, 10 quid game on Steam, just buy it instead of just torrenting it for completely free. Now I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it sounds like a very privileged thing to say, but it does help the developer an awful lot. I am not asking you to buy a 60 quid game for ridiculous amounts, even if you're not planning to play it for that much. In fact, I'm not saying pirate, but I'm saying you don't have to pay 60 quid all the time for every game that comes out. Just try and support the smaller developers, the ones who will really get hurt by piracy if you go after it. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to give my opinions on piracy and how much I dislike it, especially for indie games. I'll see you next time and have a nice day.